That was J.W. Cowell from the Endless Mountains Theater talking about the popularity of The Simpsons, and that's our interactive topic tonight. You can join us by giving us a call or sending us an email. Imagine owning a TV and never knowing what it was like without a Simpson on it. Joining us, our guest, Dr. William Irwin. He's a King's College Associate Professor. He's also the co-author of a book, The Simpsons and Philosophy, which we have in front of us, and we'll be discussing this in just a moment. A book on philosophy and The Simpsons. Some people might come down on you for this, but I always thought philosophy was kind of funny in a way. The empiricists always want to touch things. Other people want to play truth and consequences. They're always worried about the results. Was this a logical step to make?
I think so. You're one of the good ones, by the way, Eric. A lot of people have a kind of a negative reaction. You can't do that. So philosophy is something sacred and hallowed. But the truth is it's had a public relations problem for a few centuries, and so connecting it with something popular like The Simpsons seems to me a pretty good idea.
Reaction. The book came out a few years ago. Mm-hmm. How it's being used in courses? Yeah,
in fact, it was the basis for a course at University of California, Berkeley, where one of the writers...
Well, that's not surprising.
Yeah, a little out there. One of the Simpsons head writers had gone there, and he was asked about it and was excited about it, as well as other places, and we've used it in courses at King's as well.
How does it work? Break it down for us a little bit, The Simpsons' take on philosophically on the world.
Well, the idea of the book is not so much to give the philosophy of The Simpsons so much as it is to connect philosophy with The Simpsons. So we use the characters and the storylines as vehicles for talking about philosophy. So just to give one very quick example, Aristotle's theory of virtue asks us to aim for the golden mean. Not too much, not too little. So we can use the characters from The Simpsons to illustrate this. Homer, of course, is the character who always goes to excess and illustrates the vice of intemperance. Right? Donuts, everything, too much. Flanders, on the other hand, is one of the few characters you could find who doesn't indulge in things enough. Perhaps, though, at the Aristotelian golden mean, we might have Marge, who tends to balance things out.
Do you think the writers put this in, that this was their, or did they just happen upon, while satirizing American culture, they happened upon stumbling upon philosophy?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have any direct evidence that, unlike, say, The Matrix, where the writers did infuse it purposely with philosophy, that this went on with The Simpsons. But The Simpsons is a very literate and cultured show. Matt Groening, the creator, refers to his writing team as half of them being a bunch of Harvard geeks. Conan O'Brien, of course, being one of the most famous Harvard alum and Simpson alum writers among the group, and so naturally they tend to make educated references and things which lend themselves to philosophical analysis.
You bring up a point. The Simpsons, it's been on for 20 years. The writers have changed. The voices haven't. We still see the same characters. We hear the same voices. But the writers have changed. Has that impacted the show at all over the years, having different writers?
I think certainly it has, and that to me is one of the interesting puzzles of the show. It's a writers-driven show. The cartoon medium sort of hides the actors, although great voices and great actors behind the scenes there. The writers have changed, although it's a writers-driven show, and of course the ebb and flow of the quality of the show has gone up and down with writers, I suspect.
The ebb and flow has gone up and down, as you say. Now there's a movie out. What did you think of it? I understand you've posted a review online.
Yeah, I liked the movie. I thought it was very good, but not great. For me, it was sort of like what you might do in going to see the Rolling Stones. You'd be looking for some nostalgia. You'd be looking to recapture some memories, but you wouldn't be looking for the cutting edge. The Simpsons, which once used to push the envelope and really be quite edgy in some ways, really is no longer the place you would look to that. Instead, you perhaps would look to some of its heirs like South Park.
Is the change in writers the reason it's no longer cutting edge, or simply it's been with us for so long it's hard to stay on top of the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. It may have to do with the change in writers, but it also is some of that as well, trying to stay on top of the game. The Rolling Stones, for example, doing the same kind of music today, just with the change in the music scene, no longer sounds edgy. In the same way, The Simpsons staying at their same level no longer could be perceived as edgy, and we have shows like South Park, which have really pushed the envelope and done different things.
When you teach philosophy, you have students You say when you started, all your students watched The Simpsons. Not so true anymore.
Yeah. When the book came out, and when I was early on in my teaching career, I could count on every student watching the Simpsons, it seemed. It was surely the most popular show on college campuses. Now I can count on all students knowing who the main characters are and perhaps having seen an episode or two. But the show has seen its height of popularity come and go, I think.
All right. We're going to talk more about this when we return. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be returned back to WYOU News, the area's only interactive newscast. Give us a call, 1-800-422-WYOU, or send us an email at pahomepage.com. We are talking about the Simpsons movie, which came out, the Simpsons craze that's going on right now, and of course, a book, The Simpsons and Philosophy, written 2001? 2001. Some of the chapters that got the attention of critics when this first came out. Thus Spake Bart.
Thus Spake Bart, yeah. We use that chapter as a way of talking about Nietzsche's philosophy of going beyond good and evil. And there's often a misunderstanding about that Nietzsche is saying just do whatever you want in a kind of Bart Simpson sort of way. Not the case. And so in the essay we show that really what Nietzsche is speaking about is making one's own life a work of art, even if it is a terrible work of art. So someone like Hannibal Lecter would be a better example of what Nietzsche's after than, say, Bart Simpson, who's just mindlessly being bad.
And I like the title of this one, A Karl, not Groucho, Marxist in Springfield.
Yeah, that was written by one of my colleagues at King's, Jim Wallace, and there we look at some Marxist themes in The Simpsons, in particular the famous episode of the Country Club where Marge gets lured in by the Country Club scene. Marge is a very unlikely character to get lured in by that after all, and the consumerism and all that comes along with it.
When you look back at writing the book and studying the episodes, why do you feel this show has been successful and been able to be on television for 20 years?
Well, for one reason that we touched on before, I think it's been a writer-driven show, and it's brought smart writing back to the sitcom format. And perhaps also, although the writers haven't always been the same and perhaps not always of the same quality, cycling writers in and out has kept it fresh, even if not always at the top of its game.
But the show is topical humor. Pop culture references abound in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
That type of humor doesn't age well when The Simpsons is off the air, when there is no time where children only remember having a TV with a Simpson on it. When they are off the air and we only see them in reruns and DVDs, will it hold up? Will it stand the test of time?
Yeah, that's true. Certainly some of the references will dry up. They won't be funny. You'll have to go to the internet and Google them and find out what they are.
You won't be going to philosophy books. You'll be going to history books.
Yeah, maybe. But here's a favorite reference of mine. There's a reference in the episode of Streetcar Named Marge where Maggie is put in the Ayn Rand School for Tots, and the proprietor, Miss Sinclair, is reading The Fountainhead Diet, which is an allusion to Ayn Rand's book, The Fountainhead. And in that scene, the pacifier is taken away from her. So to get all of that and why all these references are there, we need to know that Ayn Rand is a radical libertarian philosopher, and you have to fend for yourself and don't be reliant on the government or even pacifiers. And that's the kind of thing that'll hold up over time, although not everybody got it when it first aired and won't get it later on. Nonetheless, there's plenty of that kind of geeky stuff in there as well.
As a major fan, does the movie herald the end of the book? Not the end of the book, the end of the TV series?
I hope not. I think that they probably have in mind to go the full 20 seasons. They'll begin the 19th full season next year. And of course, at some time, they'll have to know when to hang it up and say goodbye gracefully. But I hope we have a couple more years left.
You've done a series of books, The Matrix, the philosophy of the Matrix, the rock band Metallica, you've done the philosophy. Do you find it's hard when you take something that's fun, like The Simpsons or the films The Matrix, and make them 300 pages of philosophical study? Does it always work?
Well, we're very careful about the topics we choose. It wouldn't work with just anything. So, for example, we didn't do a book on Friends, no matter how wildly popular that is, or American Idol, no matter how...
But you did one on Seinfeld.
Yeah, well, Seinfeld really is provocative in its humor. Jerry is a kind of stand-up philosopher, gadfly in his own right in some ways, and that really provided good fodder. And the newest book is on Metallica and philosophy, and that has a lot of people shake their heads. After all, metal has this this bad stereotype of being for Neanderthals, and we try to show that's not the case.
The other doctors, they don't make fun of you. They don't give you a hard time.
I take my share of ribbon.
Well, I'm glad you could join us. I appreciate you being with us,
Thanks
William
so much
Irwin,
for having me, Eric.
writer of The Simpsons and Philosophy. We're going to talk more about that a little later on, but I appreciate you being with us.